My name is Daniel Abrahams, and what if I told you you were given just 5 weeks to solve a massive problem in a city that you've never been to before with a small group of people? How would you handle it? Would you step up and take the lead? Stay quiet to allow the team to take charge? Or maybe not get involved at all? These were the exact questions that my teammates and I had faced when solving this challenge. Little did we know is that these 5 weeks would actually be one of the most rewarding experiences that we've ever had. The story starts with a class called Innovation in Action. This course focuses on developing creative problem-solving skills, both by yourself and in multidisciplinary teams. We had learned to quickly prototype solutions to real-world problems, refine and adapt our ideas, as well as pitch them effectively, all in a single minute. To put it simply, you're given a challenge and it's your job to come up with a solution that's realistic, feasible, and valuable. Almost everything we did was tied directly to the main project except for one key assignment: reading this book, Sprint, and How to Solve Big Problems and Test New Ideas in Just 5 Days by Jake Knapp and a bunch of others at Google Ventures. As the title suggests, the sprint process is meant to be completed in around 5 days, but in our case, the same process had unfolded over 5 weeks. This extra time had given me a much deeper appreciation for the method, making the lessons from the book feel even more real. And here was the catch. At the end of those 5 weeks, all groups would be pitching their solution to a group of judges in a real competition. That meant that every idea, prototype, and decision we had carried weight. We weren't just doing this for a grade, we were doing this to convince people that our solution really worked. To start off the challenge, week one began with an introduction to the sprint design and how it connects to the design thinking process. That's when we were introduced to the challenge: how might we reimagine a downtown Alachua city block to celebrate its unique history and charm while creating a vibrant modern hub where residents, merchants, and visitors can live, work, and play. Without ever having been to Alachua City, all we knew so far is that there were a growing number of rundown buildings and 70 million people that pass through the city each year. Not much to go off of. That week was also about finding about your teams and understanding our own strengths and team environments. Our instructor had explained the types of roles that were present in a group. This included the facilitator, the decider, the tech expert slash engineer, the marketing expert, and the user experience designer. We each had to pitch ourselves and our skills in front of the class, then choose the four people that you wanted on your team and at least a few that you didn't want on your team. I was fortunate enough to have a team that I had already knew and worked with before. And further down the video, I'm going to explain why being comfortable with your group can make all the difference when you're progressing towards something. Week two was all about understanding the city. We went into depth researching Alachua's demographics, history, local industry and economy, and we learned that Alachua is a small town with big potential, a growing population of college graduates and families, and a community rooted in heritage. This was essential in our future decision making. Each of us then conducted two interviews with people who could give us valuable insights, ranging from a local real estate mogul in Tampa Bay to others familiar with small town life. Using these insights, we created a massive mind map, starting with central ideas such as likes and wants in both Alachua and our own respective hometowns. Our goal was to identify what already existed, what people valued, and how we could adapt those ideas into something unique. Finally, each team member had formed 10 open-ended how might we questions. We grouped them together by category. We voted on our favorites and narrowed them down. In the end, our draft question had become: how might we turn one downtown Alachua city block into an eco and tech smart hub that celebrates local heritage and draws residents, visitors, and businesses to thrive together? In week three, the team was deciding our next move. We kept going back to our research, our interviews, and just throwing ideas out on the table. Still, we try to stay true to our main goals: preserve local heritage, maximize the underutilized space, and attract more visitors. This was also the week when all the debates began. We often challenged one another's ideas, which in a way is a very good thing. Every team needs that devil's advocate to push for better solutions. I've worked with teams without any real camaraderie, and no matter how gifted each team member is, without any compatibility, you rarely get their best work. That's why this team made the effort to bond outside of the classroom. We visited Alachua together, explored the city, spoke with locals, and even watched one teammate attempt and fail the $30 3-pound burger challenge. Back in the classroom, we moved into the Crazy Eights exercise. 8 minutes to sketch 8 different versions of a single idea. We presented our drawings, we picked what worked and tossed what didn't, and by the end, our concept was starting to take shape, transform the block into a large commons area inspired by an American colonial-style plaza, with influence from the Leipzig Market Square in Germany. This would be centered around what would be Florida's largest synthetic ice rink. Surrounding, we envisioned mixed-use spaces for both retail and office space, a renovated sports bar and food truck area with rooftop solar panels to make the entire project more sustainable. It would bring in tourism, boost local commerce, and preserve Alachua's small town charm that finally makes the central space a place people could actually use. We called our solution the Alachua Heritage Commons. Week 4, we began prototyping. We started with a satellite view photo of the block that we were revitalizing, then altered it to match our vision, marking everything to scale. At first, I wanted our prototype to be fully 3D printed despite the cost and the time, but the scale made it impossible, so we shifted to building it in Minecraft. I'll admit, I was against the idea at first, thinking that it would look too basic and just clinging on to my own vision, but my teammates created an incredibly detailed build, completed with a recorded walkthrough that loops for anyone to watch. The judges and our peers turned out to love it. That taught me an important lesson. Even if you're set on an idea, sometimes you need to pivot, excel in a different direction, and admit you were wrong with grace. Although a reincarnation of my original idea would still present itself very shortly. We did still 3D print our synthetic ice rink, our focal point, and it looked amazing. Our tech expert, who was skilled in Autodesk Fusion, nailed the design and the scale. Around this time, we also started designing our poster and working on our 1-minute pitch. We thought that we only had a few small details left to fix, but we couldn't have been more wrong. Each group had to pitch what they had to the rest of the class, in which we practiced our pitch skills and received constructive feedback on our overall progress. Week 5 was our final stretch before the big competition. We were still refining our poster and pitch based on class feedback, but now we had to present in front of a panel of practice judges. Students who had already won this competition before, or similar ones, they knew exactly what it takes to win this competition. We pitched our idea, and to our surprise, they completely tore into us. The criticism was blunt and relentless, and my very first instinct was to defend our choices, but instead, I forced myself to listen. I realized 2 things. First, one who cannot accept criticism cannot improve. And second, if something requires a lengthy explanation, that's on us as the team, not the judges. They should be able to understand what we're talking about very easily. One major takeaway was that our project still needed a real physical model. The satellite view and the Minecraft build weren't enough to convey our vision for the Alachua Heritage Commons. So we decided to build one from scratch, using sustainable materials. Over the next few days, we spent nearly 16 hours cutting, sizing, and assembling what would be called our pseudo model. And in that 1 week, we met more often than in any other. We built, revised the pitch, and tweaked our poster. I took on the financial model personally, which included the capital stack, the construction costs, our 3-year building plan, and a refinancing plan. For a college student with no development experience whatsoever, it wasn't easy. I utilized financial planning, construction-focused large language models, or LLMs, carefully prompting them with square footage, the materials, and industry-standard market data to get estimates that were quite amateur, but close enough for early-stage development and planning. On the last day of class, before the competition, we pitched again, this time with loud background noise to simulate the real environment. We walked in carrying our brand new model, which shocked everyone since 2 days ago we had nothing. The feedback was better, and we finally made our final tweaks. Now, only a few days remained. We stayed in constant contact, triple-checking every detail. At this point, the only thing left to do was show up and perform. The day was finally here. Everyone was dressed up in professional attire, and of course we were looking very sharp. Clearly, I never missed an opportunity to put on my suit. The room was filled with group projects, each tackling the same problem, each following the same process, but all with completely different solutions. We were introduced to the judges, listened to a few motivational speeches, and then it begun. We had practiced this so many times. We had everything ready, the poster, the pseudo model, the finances, the Minecraft walkthrough. When the first few visitors came by, we nailed it. Yes, we were nervous, but we powered through. Then came the first judge. We delivered it with a smooth flow, answered every question, and gave a performance we were proud of. The first judge's reaction gave us the confidence we needed to win. Judge after judge, we kept delivering. Yes, sometimes we would forget a line or get hit with the tough questions, but we still persevered. And after hours of pitching, it was finally over. We were sent to wait while all the judges made their decisions, and there were six awards for grabs: the People's Choice, the Best Prototype, the Power of Design, the Make It Happen, the Bright Idea, and the Judge's Choice Award. My team and I were certain we would win at least one. Finally, the judges returned. Weeks of effort, late nights, research, stress, it all led up to this moment. We were ready for it to all pay off. We anxiously listened for the very first word to be announced, and it wasn't us. So we listened for the next one. Still not us. Same as the next one, and the one after that, and so on. With every announcement, I felt my confidence drop more and more, with my disappointment rising simultaneously. Then came the final award, the Judge's Choice Award, and, to our surprise, we didn't win that one either. At the time, the disappointment was heavy. We were told later that in the judges' room, we were discussed as a runner-up for several categories, but in the moment, it didn't feel much different from losing. But after hours of reflection, I realized something. Even losses can lead to future wins. Taking this as a pure defeat would only hold us back from attaining the next opportunity. I then shared this with my team, hoping it would bring some clarity in this moment of defeat. Defeat is only bitter to those who stop tasting progress. Looking back on this experience, I'm extremely grateful that I got to be part of something so hands-on. This entire experience helped me uncover strengths that I hadn't fully realized, whether it be in AI prompting, or prototyping, or pitching, or creativity. I advanced in one way or another. And while I am proud of my performance over these past 5 weeks, I know there's always room for improvement. I could have been more open to different perspectives, more active in certain processes, and more vocal about ideas that I truly believed in. But because of this experience, those gaps have become more apparent to me, and I plan to face them on moving forward. The lessons I'm taking away are simple but powerful. First, make sure your group isn't just a group, it's a team. Teams that are comfortable with one another will always be more effective. Secondly, learn to take criticism. The burn will help you heal faster. And lastly, every defeat brings you closer to a win. Losing is fine, but as long as you pick yourself up and keep going. My name is Daniel Abrahams, and I thank you for watching my video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.